What in the Carnival and Royal Caribbean is going on here? So just this week, both Carnival Cruise Line and Royal Caribbean Cruise Line have announced the building of more mega ships. Now, I think it would be an understatement to say that when it comes to this mega cruise ship trend, people are kind of 50-50 as a whole. Either they love the idea or they hate it. In this video, I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of each, and hopefully you agree with me. One ship size factor that is important to note and understand is that the cruise ship industry within this mega ship phase, trend, era, or ideology, if you will, is that the cruise ship industry is absolutely booming right now. People want to take a cruise. They want to sail the seven seas while they drink a margarita, gamble a little bit, and bed wrestle while they sail on their merry way to their favorite port of call, destination, or island. This is the why. Well, there's technically many reasons why they're building these mega ships. I will outline in this video that more so go in the benefit of the cruise lines in terms of business and profit. However, the first thing I want to point out is what's going on with Carnival Cruise Line. Let's go ahead and set the stage here. Carnival Cruise Line this week has announced that starting in spring of 2027, they are going to launch a brand new XL or Excellence Class cruise ship to join up with the Mardi Gras, the Celebration, and the Jubilee. Regardless of how some of you may feel about Carnival Cruise Line, and yes, I'm talking to you, you loyal to Royals out there, Carnival is extremely successful. I sail Carnival many a time a year, and I do love the product. I call it your average Joe's cruise line. There are normal people out there that have a great time, and their ships are absolutely packed. This means that yes, there is an opportunity to potentially continue expanding the business. They also have the launch of their new private area over in Grand Bahama coming up in 2025, Celebration K. I'm sorry, I just realized that Carnival has spelled it Celebration Key. You guys get my mind all tangled up with Key versus K, but nevertheless, not the point. When it comes to Carnival, yes, like I said, they are very successful. And when it comes to the launch of their fourth XL or Excellence Class cruise ship, it just kind of sets the precedent that Carnival is doing great. However, one thing I will point out, somebody that does sail with Carnival regularly on their smaller ships, on their larger ships, on their older ships, I do believe that Carnival, they are kind of rushing with this launch because I do personally believe that they still need to get their house in order. What I mean by that, and I'm saying this as somebody that sails with multiple cruise lines about 15 to 20 times per year, along with Carnival's competitors like your NCL and Royal Caribbean, Carnival does seem to have some consistency issues. They've also lately been, from what I've seen, increasing the prices while taking some things away. We also have the issue as of, let's say, a year ago, Carnival has announced that they were going to crack down on all of the malarkey, all the craziness and disorderly conduct that was taking place on board their ships. However, I would argue this past year, during the peak seasons, it was arguably worse than it had ever been, even with this crackdown, the dogs on board and everything in between. Obviously, to be clear, this segment of the conversation wouldn't even be needed if Carnival hadn't been announcing up and down and sending emails that they were going to tighten up on their rules and regulations. If they are going to be the fun cruise line, or let's say how other people may put it, the anything goes cruise line, that is fine and dandy. Just don't announce that you're going to try to clean up your act to some degree, because now people are like, well, what do you want? What is your initial plan, and what do you have moving toward the future? That's what I believe the issue is when it comes to Carnival creating these newer ships. You need to figure out what the formula is and how you're going to go about it as you move forward. I would also argue that Carnival Cruise Line has somewhat lost its style, its flavor, its pizzazz, if you will. Carnival, if you look back at their ships from, let's say, the late 90s to the early 2000s, the ship had all these funky colors and it had a style and uniqueness to it. Now it just seems like Carnival Cruise Line is trying to just play the level up game of who can make the biggest and largest cruise ship, trying to compete and outclass Royal Caribbean, which in the most respectful way, I don't think that can or will ever happen. There are other things that I want to touch on with Carnival Cruise Line. However, the things I'm going to touch on do apply to both Carnival and Royal Caribbean, so we'll talk about that in a moment. Now let's sail into Royal Caribbean, the cruise line that has the biggest cruise ships in the world, and there isn't an argument for it. They are absolutely killing it, so much so that they know this, and for that reason, they are taking full advantage. Now, this year, we have seen the launch of Icon of the Seas. It gained a lot of publicity, a lot of media attention from people that don't even care about cruising. That just goes to show, and it's a testament to how good their marketing team is. We also, this summer, have the launch of the beautiful Utopia of the Seas, which I will be on board, very excited, the 5th Oasis class ship. And now we are talking about a 6th Oasis class ship that is set to launch sometime in 2028. Do keep in mind that as far as the Icon class, which is a bigger class than the Oasis class, has 2 ships set in place to launch, the Star of the Seas in 2025 and another unnamed Icon class ship in 2026. Royal Caribbean is the best well-oiled machine in your standard cruising. There is no doubt about it. I don't think anybody can make an argument for any other line. Their ships are clean, their app works perfectly and seamlessly, and it's very easy to read. Their food is very good. I was on the Icon, the buffet, it wasn't as good as I had seen on, let's say, Freedom of the Seas or even Oasis class ship Wonder of the Seas, but you go to specialty dining options, they are killing the game. They just have a formula that works, and they are definitely going to try to, well, of course, take advantage of that opportunity, understandably so. Now, looking at both Carnival and Royal Caribbean, as far as, let's say, the pros or potential issues that could occur between these two brands in the launch of their mega ships is, for starters, when you have ships of this size, this magnitude, it is obviously going to greatly reduce the quantity and quality of the ports in which they could visit. You can only go to so many places. Now, given when I say quality, obviously, there are a lot of options, very nice ports that you could visit. However, I do believe that both Carnival and Royal Caribbean are more so focused on their destinations being ones that they can control. By that, I mean, of course, your private island, Perfect Day at Coco Cay, and Carnival's private area over in Grand Bahama, Celebration Key. When it comes to Royal Caribbean, there have been many arguments made that the ship is now the destination. Yes, there is obviously some great merit to that. It is a fact. However, they are focused on pulling all of those ships over to their private island, Perfect Day Coco Cay, in which, like I said, they can control that area and, of course, be able to keep 100% of the profit. Nothing wrong with that. It is just good business, and Perfect Day Coco Cay is a great island. While, of course, visiting Perfect Day Coco Cay, you will not be able to capture the bohemian culture. People are still able to have a great time. They have adult options there. They have exclusive options there, like the Coco Beach Club, in which you can have your own privacy and enjoy the island and have your own experience. Carnival undoubtedly will have the same thing at Celebration Key. So there are 3 problems that I want to identify when it comes to the mega ships, whether it be from Carnival or Royal Caribbean in this particular case. For starters, not only do the cruise lines have limitations on where they can take these mega ships, there are limitations on where they can sail out of as well. For example, I live in Tampa. We have a small port because we have a bridge here in which big ships can't get through. There's also the ideology that, well, yeah, naturally you may not be able to pull in that demographic from that particular area, meaning you're going to see a lot of mega ships sailing out of Florida and just simply at some point going over to the Bahamas, over to their private island and area. Number 2, a bigger ship means, obviously, unfortunately, a bigger price. We've already seen Royal Caribbean go up to what I like to call Disney prices, and the problem is that people are actually paying these ridiculous prices, so much so that it's now going to become the norm. Carnival hasn't as much, but they are definitely increasing their prices. You go see right now on, let's say, Celebration or any of their newer XL class ships, the prices have definitely gone up. This is, of course, just simple business, supply and demand. You guys know how all of that works. I also have a theory that the cruise lines are, of course, trying to capitalize because during the pandemic, as we all know, the cruise lines lost millions and millions of dollars. Number 3, let's talk about the future of these mega ships. Things are fine and dandy now. The cruise ship industry, at least as of 2019, has increased by 17% and is expected to continue to grow in popularity as far as the entire industry is concerned. You have about 50% of Americans that can get to a cruise port within about 5 hours and some change roughly, meaning it is an attractive option considering there are plenty of Americans, plenty of people around the world that may not have a lot of time available. They want to go see multiple places. I do believe that a cruise is the best place to kind of go to get a taste test of different destinations. That's why a lot of people do cruise. No hassle form of travel. If you don't want to fly, let's say to Bermuda directly, you take a cruise to Bermuda, stay there for, let's say if you're sailing with like Norwegian, 3-day stay over there and decide if you want to go back there for a week or maybe even longer. Nevertheless, looking into the future, let's say we have a crystal ball here and let's say the well dries up. Demand for cruising just so happens to go down, or we see something in the form of somewhat of a recession in which people don't really have the money to spend on a cruise on board a mega ship, or we have, I hope not, another COVID-like event. Cruise ships are are not like a land-based operation, like let's say a resort in which they've already bought the property, there are ways that they can conserve. Once a cruise ship starts moving, it's like a plane. It doesn't stop because it's always going to cost money whether passengers are on board or not. The simple reality is that at some point, all of these brand new and popular cruise ships within the next coming decades are going to become old or seasoned cruise ships. What can the cruise lines do? Yes, they can continue marketing because there's always going to be a new influx of passengers or returning passengers that want to sail on these cruise ships. They can involve shorter itineraries on these mega ships, giving people the opportunity, or let's say lack thereof, to see less on the cruise ship to the point to where they continuously want to go back and board said cruise ship because there were a lot of things that they missed. But the reality is, yes, you're going to potentially see these inflections of the economy and everything in between to the point to where they can't sell out these cruise ships like they are now. What do you do at that point? Now, do keep in mind, this is just my tinfoil hat talk. I do believe the cruise ship industry is thriving. It will continue to do so for many decades to come. However, there's nothing wrong with, let's say, entertaining the conversation because obviously these are factors that are indeed baked in the cake and in the equation. But it's also somewhat thought-provoking too. So I do want to hear from all of you. What do you think of my idea? What do you think of the whole ideology? And also, what do you think is for the future for cruise lines? And do you think that they are kind of going a little too far with this mega ship trend? We do have Royal Caribbean talking about the idea of the Discovery class cruise ships, a set of smaller cruise ships in which people can still enjoy. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. I'd also love for you guys to hit that like button. And if you're interested in booking a cruise, you can book it with myself and my team at Lux Rally Travel Agency. We do not charge you any fees for you to book with us. We can get you all kinds of perks as well and potential upgrades. So do keep in mind for that. Just click on the link below. There is literally no reason why you shouldn't have a travel agent, especially one that isn't charging you fees. Anyway, guys, I appreciate all of you. I love all of you, and I will see you later. Take it easy.